what's good, nigga? Y'all here with, hey, man. Hey, man, what's good, nigga? We back. We here to watch Mr. Juice, nigga. The man, the myth, the legend, the one nigga who rushed for 2,000 yards in a season before. You feel me? The nigga who missed to steal your girl. The nigga who I would never bring none of my white hoes around. But we'll leave it there. We talking about Mr. Juice. What's good, Mr. Juice? Welcome to Hey Man's channel. If y'all like more of this content that I'm doing, y'all go hit the like button and subscribe if y'all new to the channel. 9 out of 10 times, y'all probably is. So, hey, we here with Mr. Juice. We got to see if this nigga, we all know he beat the case, you feel me? My nigga said, if the glove don't fit, you must have quit, bitch. And he beat the whole case. So, let's see. If we go back on the evidence, we gonna have our own opinion. Let's see if Hey Man was on the jury. Let's see if I would have got you innocent or not. Because I feel like my nigga didn't kill her. But at the same time, my nigga really could have. Hey, OJ, you really could have damn killed the girl. And he always mocking people too for it. He always talking about it. Nigga, leave it alone. Leave it in the past. You can't keep talking about the shit. You feel me? White people still sensitive over that shit, nigga. They mad that they let a black ass nigga off the case for killing a white hoe. So, hey, we about to see. So let's get this video started because I'm done talking. I done talked too much already as it is. So let's get this video started now.
In the ghetto, one of the things I wanted the most was not money. It was fame. I wanted to be known. I wanted people to say, hey, there goes OJ.
That's the wrong mentality to have, y'all.
Mr. Orenthal James Simpson, one of the greatest American athletes that ever lived. And a
kids
man
out
who was
there,
the
if you want the fame over the money,
and most controversial
you playing
murder
yourself,
cases
nigga.
Ever to paint TV screens all around
Always
the world.
chase that
Was
bag.
he guilty? Did he get away with murder? Was he an egomaniac harboring a dangerous personality disorder? Or was he the friendly, jovial giant he came across as in the public eye? The victim of a conspiracy, not the type of guy who would almost
what y'all think?
The head of the one
y'all think my
professed
nigga
to love.
OJ did that
Before we
shit?
get into that, some of you might not be familiar with this once American idol, sports icon, and man that divided America.
Yeah.
So let's introduce
OJ once said he not
Best
black,
known
he
as
OJ.
Simpson.
How the hell
But
you
to
not
many
even a
back in
whole
the day,
race,
he was
nigga?
known as the Juice. Brought up on the wrong side
But now
of
you
town
trying to be
an
all
adoring
shade room
mother
and shit,
a
trying to
drag
act like
queen
you
father.
black again.
OJ got into trouble as a kid and also suffered from physical disabilities due to having had rickets. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And this rather large
Crickets?
boy started to focus his efforts on sports. This is a crime story, not a sports bio. So to cut a long story short, we can say that OJ soon became an excellent American football player. So good, in fact, that he became one of the best college football players in history. His forte was running, dodging, crashing through, and gliding by players as if they were cardboard cutouts. He was destined for a very successful pro career. That got off to a rocky
See,
start.
this is what
but
I'm
then
talking
OJ
about.
the Invincible became the first pro player to rush more than 2,000 yards in a
At
season.
age
The year was
26.
1973, and OJ was
That
just
nigga was
26.
bigger than life.
He was a sensation, and it can't be understated just how much he became a hero, not only to the African-American
That's
community,
crazy.
but to all athletes and armchair aficionados of sports. Other players would breach
See, hold up. This is why I gotta pause the video. He just said, especially in the African American community, how much of a hero this nigga was to us. You feel me? And then this nigga get the fame, like y'all heard at the beginning. This nigga wanted the fame, not the money. That is a dumbass nigga. Look, this nigga started saying, I'm not black, I'm OJ, nigga. I'm not this, nigga. And then look, now this nigga trying to be all shade room, you feel me? Trying to be posted up with the rap, nigga. Don't do that now, because we sit here and had your back when all them other white folks that you sit here and was, massa, yes, massa. All them people you was doing that to, all them people you were cornered to, they all turned their back on your ass. You feel me? Soon as all that shit went down, they act like they ain't know you. You were just any other nigga to them. You feel me? Down. He was one violent ass nigga. That's what they looked at his dumb ass like. You feel me? And then now he trying to be all shade room because we the only ones had his back, the black community. And said this nigga innocent. Free my nigga OJ. You feel me? And then now he try. See, that's some fake ass shit. You feel me? Never forget what you came from and never chase the fame over a bag, nigga. I don't even want to be famous, nigga. I just want this bag. All honesty.
1,000 yards in the
He
future,
came in with the
but
wrong
only
mindset,
OJ
bro.
did it in a 14-game season. The others did it in 16 games. His stardom put his face on TV for more than just sports, with perhaps his liftoff to celebrity status being a Hertz car rental commercial featuring him running through an airport. The other cast of characters would smile and watch him run by, saying, "Go OJ." He was the American dream come true.
That's
the black guy
crazy.
from the wrong side of the tracks, showing everyone that anyone could make it in America. Critics have since said he was used in a way to
And this
obfuscate
was in the
pervasive
70s, y'all.
racism in America at the time, and his rags to riches tale was far from accessible to most poor black Americans. But others hailed his role model status as a veritable U.S. success story. OJ soon became embedded in a predominantly white upper-class society. In interviews, some of his former friends
What did
have
I
said
say?
this was problematic, that OJ abandoned his roots, that he was merely a token black dude for people who cared a little about.
Oh my God. Come on now. Come on now. What did I just say? What did I just tell y'all? OJ abandoned his roots, thinking this nigga was, he was trying to be the Jeffersons and shit. Nigga, you from good times, nigga. Don't forget that. You from the hood, nigga. And then you want to abandon your people. See? Karma got your ass on that one. And then you really saw who had your back the whole time. Nigga,
him.
you black,
OJ
nigga.
said he never thought about
Stay
color
black
or
and
race,
die, nigga.
and just did what he did. He settled down and got married, and with his first wife had 3 children. One of those would die young from drowning. At the
Hey,
same time,
hold up.
OJ was acting in Hollywood
I got a question to
blockbusters.
ask y'all in
His
a
dreams
minute.
had come true. People really were saying, "Hey, there goes OJ." We must say at this point his celebrity didn't encircle the globe, as American football wasn't very popular outside of the US. But give him a few years and OJ would be a household name from Adelaide to Aberdeen, for all the wrong reasons. In 1979, he met an 18-year-old girl called Nicole Brown, who was a waitress in a private Beverly Hills club called Daisy. He told one of his friends that one day he would marry this incredibly beautiful girl, and the unstoppable OJ did just that after he had divorced his first wife. The year was 1985 when OJ married Brown, and the two would have 2 children of their own shortly after the marriage. This was a rocky relationship.
Hold up. Don't OJ, ain't Khloe Kardashian OJ daughter? I ain't forget about that now. Ain't Khloe OJ daughter? She got the black nose, the black lips. Hey girl, you not fooling me. Jenna ain't your father or whoever your daddy is. OJ, she got some black in her. Her mama was
Brown's
jungle
friends have
fever.
come forward a number
Her
of
mama
times to
wanted
say
that
he was a man with a
dingo
violent temper.
dingling.
In fact, in 1989, OJ pleaded no contest
OJ
to
dropped that
spousal
thing on her
abuse.
forehead.
The two later divorced in 1992.
Khloe OJ daughter,
You can
real
actually
shit,
listen
y'all.
to a recording of Brown calling the police at one point, saying she was scared he was going to beat her badly. The domestic violence that OJ perpetrated had not been denied,
Damn.
not even by most of his fans. But was the Juice capable of brutally murdering people? Let's now take you to the crime scene. The night of the crime was June 12, 1994. We might never know exactly what happened on that night, but Brown and her friend Ron Goldman were found dead at Brown's townhouse in Brentwood, Los Angeles. If you've seen the documentaries about this crime, you might have seen the crime scene photos. Brown had been hit on the head with a blunt object, slashed multiple times, and stabbed. It was likely she was
Damn.
already dead when the murderer slit her throat so viciously, he or she almost decapitated her. Goldman, it seems, had struggled with the murderer for some time,
Damn.
but having run into a place surrounded by bars, he had no way out. He was slashed and stabbed multiple times too. It seems one of his major arteries in his leg was cut and he lost a lot of blood quickly. But as one commentator said, the murderer again went into overkill. Goldman was stabbed in the neck at almost the same place multiple times. No one disagreed. Whoever had done this had done so fueled by a monstrous rage. It's said that Goldman
Yeah,
had been
personal.
at Brown's house as he
Yeah,
was delivering
personal.
some lost glasses. He had put those in an envelope. Both the glasses and the envelope were later found at the crime scene. We'll later hear in court that a loud bang was heard at her house in the evening. Simpson had never had a solid alibi, but has stated that he was home during the time of the murders, approximately 10:15 p.m., but we'll come back to that later. The first officers on the scene witnessed the carnage, noticing a bloody glove also just lying around. One detective, Mark Furman, then went around to OJ's house, fearing he might also be one of the victims, and if not, to tell OJ what
If it
happened
don't
at his
fit,
former
it
wife's
must have
house.
quit.
OJ's house and Brown's place were only a matter of minutes away by car, and it's well known to police about OJ and Brown's marriage and divorce. At OJ's house, another bloody glove was found, and it matched the glove found at Brown's
So they were
house.
divorced?
More blood was seen leading from Simpson's parked car. It was later discovered that the victim's blood was on both gloves, which gave police probable cause to arrest Simpson. The thing was, Simpson had flown to Chicago on the night of the murders. He'd also been taken to the airport by a Mr. Park in his limousine. It's thought that this happened sometime after the murders probably happened. Mr. Park would testify that when he was to pick Simpson up, his white Ford Bronco was not parked in the street. Simpson seemed to be out, and so he drove around waiting. Mr. Park would testify that it wasn't until 10:56 p.m. that he would see a large, strong-looking African-American man walk into Simpson's house. He went to the door and OJ finally appeared, saying he was sorry he was late. Off they went to the airport. So police are looking for Simpson, and they would get their chance to talk to him. After being told about the murder, Simpson flies back to LA. Police now have a search warrant for Simpson's house, and more blood is found. When OJ gets home, he's handcuffed and questioned for over 3 hours. The line of questioning has...
Hold up now. How y'all find, is this the same blood that y'all found in the other crib, in the same crib as OJ's? Cause I'm confused now. Because this is looking like too much damn evidence for anybody to get off with. You feel me? So either that shit had to be planted, or I don't know. I gotta listen some more. Hold
It's
up,
been
y'all.
criticized.
I'm
Cops
tripping.
go easy on him. A few days later, then he goes to the funeral of his ex-wife. And a day after that, he's charged with 2 counts of murder. He's asked to surrender, but he doesn't give himself up. Instead, what happens is one of the biggest media moments of the late 20th century, as Simpson is followed by
My
helicopters
nigga,
and a stream
and
of
the thing
police
I
cars
say you
down
wanna
the highway.
action.
It's what's called
Hey,
a
my
media
nigga,
circus.
fucking beat,
It has
I done
America
gotta beat
and
the
most
case,
of the world
but I
glued
ain't
to their
beat that
TV
case,
screens.
bitch, I did
It's
the
reported
race.
that he has a
That's what
gun
he
and he might
said.
kill himself. People all over America believe this has been a setup. They shout, "Go OJ!" The cars following make it look more like a president's motorcade than a police chase. This will become one of the most iconic moments in news history. Massive crowds are waiting on highway bridges, standing in the streets, holding signs that read "Free OJ." They're chanting, "OJ, OJ, OJ."
Damn.
It's as if the Juice is back on the field on one of his epic runs, and the world doesn't want him to stop. His car finally arrives at his house. SWAT teams are out. People are running around. Helicopters overhead. It's chaos. OJ waits in his car. His gun is said to be close to his chin. If he steps out with the gun in his hand, he will most likely be shot. He doesn't want to do that and is talked out of the car. The negotiator years later will say that while in OJ's house, he noticed only pictures, paintings, photos of the star, none of anyone else, not even the family. And so to lure him out of the car, he appealed to OJ.
Hold up now. I might take back what I said. So when I said this nigga said, "I'm not black, I'm OJ," and I felt some type of way about that shit, it might not have been because this nigga was anti-black or forgot where he came from. This nigga might just been so in love with himself, he thought only race he was OJ. Only name he is OJ. Only boy gender you are OJ. I ain't no boy, I'm OJ. You feel me? This nigga might been so in love with himself to the point this nigga didn't even think he was black. He just thought he was OJ. You feel me? He thought he was a god or some shit, nigga.
His ego.
This
his
nigga
greatness.
felt himself
It
too
worked.
much.
People interviewed in the streets are saying it's a conspiracy. More
He's
oppression,
sitting here hitting the
human rights abuses
Kardashian
by a
mama.
police force known
Duh,
to
he
be
don't
corrupt,
feel himself.
sometimes racist, sometimes unnecessarily violent. The case
He
of
got a
Rodney
little
King
bastard
still
baby
stings
running
among
around.
the African American
But it's alright,
community,
'cause I'm a
who,
bastard
for good
baby.
reason, have doubts about the ethics of the LAPD. The police are well aware of the tension and the destruction of the LA riots of '92. They move as if tenterhooks. Other men may have perhaps been treated with
Because I'm trying to
less
see if my nigga
trepidation.
really
A
innocent.
court date is made. The prosecutors later said to the media, "I don't think I'd ever seen so much evidence in one case." It didn't look cut and dried, but to OJ's fans, something
Yeah,
was rotten in the
it's
state of
too much
California.
evidence.
If anyone could find where that stink was coming from, it was the civil rights lawyer John Cochran. He was a hero to many people in the African American community.
Hey, John Cochran,
Already,
a
some people had
motherfucking
forgotten
nigga.
about the two hacked
John
bodies. They
Cochran,
were
that
concentrating
nigga.
their
You will
emotions on a
forever
race
go down
case.
a legend.
Cochran had done commendable work
I want
over the
John
years,
Cochran to
and
be
had
my
fought for
daddy.
the downtrodden. and OJ
Not like
had
that,
the money
though.
to
Let's
hire
pause
him,
that shit,
as
'cause y'all
well as
about to
a bevy of
misconstrue
other
that.
top lawyers.
I wanna be
Boy,
my
I was
father.
set up, OJ would soon say, and his words echoed throughout black communities over the USA. Surveys showed that only 10% of African Americans in the US thought he was guilty. The final jury, many of them black Americans, were also later said to have been somewhat blinded or moved by the race issue. OJ even said to his lawyer, joking, "If this jury says I did it, maybe I did do it." It wasn't cheap though, the trial. It said OJ would make around $3 million just by signing items with autographs as he sat in jail. He was still adored by many, regardless of what he might have done.
Damn.
It was the trial of the century.
Yeah, this
And
nigga
within
was
the trial
too
was
fucking
another
famous
kind
to
of
try
trial.
to
That's because
lock
the
up.
policeman that found the glove at OJ's house would be found to have said some very racist things in the past. On top of that, it was also found with good evidence that he had bragged about police brutality. The case became as much about this bad cop as it did the murders. Yet again, another giant FAIL
Oh, yeah.
for the LAPD. The glove must have been planted by
Johnny,
him,
give me
shouted
some
OJ fans.
motherfucking
It's
dap
just
on
another
that.
case of police racism. There was blood of the victims all over the place, from OJ's house to his car. It was open and shut in terms of DNA evidence. But those crafty lawyers proved that the crime scene had been contaminated and that possibly there had been a setup. They weren't trying to prove that the cops had something against OJ, only that the possibility that they had planted evidence for an easier arrest. Even though OJ had been cut himself that night and his blood was mixed with the victims, the lawyers managed to convince a jury that something was wrong. And indeed, the police had mishandled evidence. We might also say that DNA evidence was kind of new to everyone, not just the jury. Nowadays, we can read things such as this. It is reported that the DNA evidence showed that the chance
Okay.
that some of the blood found near the bodies came from anyone but Simpson was 1 in 170 million. The chance that the blood found on Simpson's sock could be from someone other than Nicole Brown was 1 in 21 billion. But back then, the jurors didn't trust DNA. They also believed the defense and that there had been some kind of setup and OJ's blood had been taken and just thrown everywhere, from the crime scene to his car to his house to his clothes. The gloves were tried on in court, and famously, OJ donned latex gloves first, and then somewhat dramatically proved his hands were too
If
big
it
for the leather
don't
ones.
fit,
Another bad move from the prosecution. His blood and the victims were on those gloves, but it didn't matter. As Cochran told the jury, if the glove doesn't fit, acquit. Hair from an African American was also found at the scene and on Ron Goldman's shirt, while shoes matching Simpson's size had made footprints in the blood. After the trial, evidence would be found of Simpson owning the exact shoes that were worn by the killer, but it was too late then. The sock we just mentioned was also found at Simpson's home, and that too had blood of the victims on it. But as we said, some finagling by very clever lawyers persuaded the jury not that the cops had colluded and set OJ up, but that there was a chance that evidence had been mishandled.
OJ.
Photos of Brown's bruised face were shown to the
OJ.
jury from a time Simpson had beat her in the past
OJ.
and been arrested. It didn't matter.
I don't
There
give
was
a
a
fuck,
racist
nigga.
cop involved with that
After
evidence.
this, you better
That meant
become a
something.
Black Panther.
LAPD criminalists had done a
You better
poor job,
became
and
pro-black,
that meant something, too.
anti-anything,
Cochran
nigga.
orated a
We're
summation
the only
fitting
reason
of a
you beat this
wartime
shit,
speech.
nigga.
And even though it was completely
Johnny
over the top
motherfucking
by many
cockroach.
people's standards, it meant something as well. So even with so much evidence, the case of the prosecution was doomed.
Evidence,
And as one of the former
facts.
jurors said in a documentary interview, she was
Yeah, 'cause they
never
were too
going to find him
corrupt.
guilty. This was payback for Rodney King. She said 90% of the other juries thought the same. Although in the same documentary, another former juror said she had no bones about King relating to this case. But the prosecution had pretty much failed and let a guilty man go free. Lots of evidence was not presented by the defense,
Damn.
such as Brown calling a woman's shelter days before her death, saying she feared her ex-husband was stalking her, or the fact that a shop owner had said Simpson had bought a 15-inch knife from him that might have matched the kind of knife in the murders. The prosecution
my-
couldn't use that because the man who sold it to Simpson sold his story to the media. Police did search for a knife but couldn't find one. The media also reports that a knife was found during the demolition of Simpson's
Oh my
house
gosh.
some years later, but it was kept as a memento by an LAPD officer. Another person said she saw Simpson's Ford Bronco driving wildly that night, but she also sold that story to the media, and so the prosecution couldn't use her testimony. Civil rights activists called it a
Damn.
victory for Black America, and no shortage of people jubilantly shouted from
Yeah.
the streets that justice had been served. What most people fail to realize is that OJ had admitted that he would have lost without doubt had he not have had this expensive team of lawyers. In terms of human rights, was this
Yo,
justice
without
not
Johnny.
justice bought with money? Did the color of the money hold more sway than the color of the skin? No one seemed to ask. Black, white, or brown, if you're poor, you're having a harder time in court than if you're rich. Had justice really prevailed? It was hard to call it a victory, and in this case might have meant two people being slaughtered like cattle by a man who thought he was untouchable. Simpson did lose a civil case to Ron Goldman's family, and a jury found O.J. guilty of causing wrongful death. This meant that Simpson was ordered in total to pay both families of the deceased
that mean?
$33.5 million in compensatory and punitive damages. But how much they got was nothing close.
What in the hell?
They hounded Simpson for years, or at least the Goldmans did, but OJ had a way of protecting what little money he had left. OJ did end up going to prison after a few years of acting like a gangster and making music videos and some TV shows. He was apparently trying to get some of his memorabilia back, but a failed hotel heist in Las Vegas got him 9
I
years.
told y'all.
He was released in 2017, and it said he now lives a quiet life as a retiree somewhere in Las Vegas. Apparently, he still loves golf, but we might imagine his juice glass these days is half empty. His former manager is now reportedly making a new documentary.
Damn!
He has stated that Simpson did the murders but did not act alone. There's also a very strange television interview that's come to light, in which Simpson gives a hypothetical version
It's
of events
over.
on the night of the murders. What's strange is that Simpson basically retraces the steps of himself that night and how he hypothetically commits the murders. He says this in the third person, such as,
This
"Tony
nigga's
Bronco
trolling
toured
them?"
home with his friend, brought a knife, and put on a hat and gloves for dramatic effect." He even added, "It was horrible, it was absolutely horrible." Simpson then says Goldman tried some karate move with him, and he asked him if he thought he could kick his backside.
Why would you
He said
even
he then
talk
blacked
about
out,
this,
but
nigga?
came around and there was stuff all around them. He was talking about blood. If you watch this, you might just wonder what the heck you've just seen. The video was not published for many years because it was such a sensitive case, and there could be legal issues, so the tapes were reportedly only recently found. So, after hearing all this, are you in the Go OJ camp, or do you think he was guilty? What do
Hey.
you think about him, the investigation?
Hey, my nigga OJ, the biggest motherfucking capper in history, nigga. Oh my God, OJ. How you beat that shit, nigga? After this, you better became Black Power. You better came at hands and knees and thanked us. Cause we the reason why you went free, nigga. And then this nigga was trolling the families. And then on top of that, this nigga ain't even paid with the money. This nigga ain't even paid him. This nigga a real ass nigga. I don't give a fuck. You couldn't know. There should be no way this nigga could have said he not Black OJ. Cause everything you did acted just like a nigga. And you did the race, nigga. Hey, that motherfucking. But hey, also the police was corrupt at the same time. So they could have tried to plant a little bit of evidence. So I got to say, my thing is, all right, do I think this nigga guilty or innocent? Well, my nigga beat the case, so my nigga obviously innocent. Y'all got me innocent up. Y'all thought I was gonna say my nigga guilty? Hell nah, them motherfucking cops planted that shit on my nigga. Y'all heard that? Them cops was racist. Them cops was trying to, ooh, wait. No, nevers. But hey, my nigga OJ is innocent. Y'all go tell me in the comments what y'all think. If my nigga OJ is innocent or guilty. But hey, thank y'all for watching the video. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace, nigga.